Good morning, respected dignitaries, fellow faculty members, marketing staff, students. It gives me immense pleasure to extend you all a warm welcome on behalf of Niedic Women's College for Impact Lecture Series sponsored by Ministry of Education, Institution Innovation Council, Government of India for developing entrepreneurship guidance among the students. Niedic Women's College has established Nanavati Innovation and Entrepreneur Development Incubation Center in academic year 1920 under the guidance of MHRD to promote entrepreneurship at institutional level. Our college is associated with Innovation, Institution Innovation Council, National Institutional Ranking Framework Innovation, and I'm happy to share our institution is shortlisted for financial assistance from MHRD under Institution Innovation Council for developing entrepreneurship, startup, and innovation. Therefore, considering the present situation into the account, there's a need to create awareness about various aspects of innovation and entrepreneurship. We are trying foster it with this session. I am delighted to introduce our today's guest speaker, Mr. Parvez Krudoli, to the session. Welcome, sir. Uh, Parvez, sir, is a software investor, patentee and entrepreneurship and inventor, patentee and entrepreneurship and has obtained patent for his inventions in India and USA. He has experience of developing and investing software, drafting and patent searching, conducting patent workshop, commercializing patent right and managing a software IP related startup company. He is also a registered patent agent admitting to the practice before Indian Patent Office. Parvez sir focus at Purana is an consultancy business development and client relationship relating to IPR strategy, patent, trademark, copyright, and design. He has worked with hundreds of intellectual property creators, inventors, and inventions to help with their innovation and IP protection strategies. Parvez is a mentor with Institute and mentor startup founder on IPR related matters. Parvez has conducted intellectual property right awareness session, IPR training program, and patent drafting workshop for organizing institutions such as MSME Development Institute, Mumbai, Rajiv Gandhi National Institute of Intellectual Property Right, Nagpur, Sardar Patel Institute of Technology, Mumbai, GI, GH Raisoni College of Engineering, Nagpur and Pune, Megha Group of Institute, Nagpur, Institute of Chemical Technology, Mumbai, formerly UDCT, Manipal Institute of Technology, Manipal Karnataka State Council for Science and Technology, Bangalore Electro Entrepreneur Park, Institute of Company Secretary of India, and World Trade Center Mumbai, among others. Sir, we are eagerly waiting to hear you, sir. The list is too long for your achievement. Over to you, sir.
Can you tell me, can you hear me without the mic? Can you hear me without the mic, or would you prefer me use the mic? Mic? Okay. Andan दो घंटे तक पकड़ते रहो. Okay. Okay. Good morning and welcome to this session on innovation and business startups. Okay. My effort will be to make it as interesting as possible. One way I try to do that is share from my actual practical experience working with these kind of things. Okay. Also have examples in case studies. That's what I try to do. So we have about 2 hours and go over the topics given to me: innovation and startups. How are they connected? Why are they important? What's the relevance? We'll be looking at that aspect. Towards the end, I hope to have about 15-20 minutes where we can have questions and answers. You can ask any questions, queries that you might have. You can ask and try to address those questions also. right? Which doesn't mean that within the session itself you can't ask any question. If you have a doubt or something is confusing or something bothering you which doesn't enable you to participate in the session relating to this topic, you can raise your hand and ask any questions during the session, right? And also we'll try and have some questions towards that. Uh, uh, can you please tell me, there was a session before this on IPR, intellectual property rights, that Ganesh Giresan is just conducted. So any of you was present in that, participated in that session? None of you. Okay, okay. So let me see, because IPR, the topic of intellectual property rights, was covered there. It's very important when it comes to innovation and startups, right? So let me see. I hadn't planned for it because I had assumed the people would be attending the first session. They themselves would be attending this, so they already are aware to a fair extent about the basics of IPR, but may not be the case. Let me try and see whether I can fit in a little bit of introduction at least to the four main types of IPR. Anyway, some aspects of IPR, anyway, I'll be covering in my session. Okay, right? So let's begin. Very happy to be here. Hope to have an interesting session with all of you. Uh, how do I advance this slide? How do we go to the next slide? How do we advance? Okay. Okay. So, this the topic of this session is innovation and the business startups, right? So, let's try, not try. Let's start with an introduction or a definition, or at least in a simple word, looking at the meaning of the word innovation and startup. I don't want to presume that you know what innovation means or what a startup means. You already would be knowing. I'm not like underestimating your knowledge and intelligence. But today's session, we are having in a certain context, right? Of in an educational institution, to people who will go out and work in industries and in the world out there, talking about innovation is in a certain context where intellectual property is also involved. Startups is as in startup businesses where you want to actually make a difference in the world out there, add value and actually generate profits and make your venture successful. That's the context in which we are having this session. So my definition, or it's not mine, it's actually public definition, but this is the definition or the explanation of the word innovation and startup that I would want you to start off with. Okay, this is what very briefly in a few lines captures the essence or meaning of innovation and the word startup. So, what is innovation? Innovation is the process of bringing about new ideas. Innovation, firstly, is a process. Okay, activity. You have to be in action, do something. Process, steps are to be followed. Right? So innovation is a process of bringing about new ideas which are not already there and existing. You are creating something, bringing something into existence. Methods, products, services, or solutions that have a significant positive impact and value in the world out there, around you, and maybe even at a distance, right? So that is the understanding of innovation. If you keep that in your mind, have that with you, that will help you a lot in understanding the context of today's session, including the IPR thing we had earlier and what we'll be discussing in today's session. Okay. Innovation is the process of bringing about new ideas, methods, products, services, or solutions that have a significant positive impact and value. We haven't mentioned here, please note, specific kind of thing. Okay? Only this kind of thing can be an innovation, or that kind of thing can be an innovation. It could be anything new, different, that is significant, adds value, can be considered as an What is a startup? A startup is a company or entity. Simple. A startup is a company or entity in the first stages of operation. It's just been started, recently set up. Okay, and what one of the things that happens with something which is recently set up, okay, which has just started its operation, most likely will be that that kind of a company or entity is not a huge big company with huge turnover, not even 100 crore. Forget 5,000 crore or 10,000 crore. They won't have from day one. So it will be a small venture. It will be a group of people, the founders who have started this with some idea. This is the product, a service, a solution, or value that we are going to provide through this. And they don't have too many resources, they don't have a long history, they don't have a lot of money. Hopefully, what they will have in abundance is innovative ideas and intellectual property right protection on those ideas that they have, because the main asset very often that startups have is intellectual property, innovative ideas, ideas for products, services, solutions, etc. Right? And hopefully they have a intellectual property right now, so that nobody else can copy their idea and freely benefit from it. Right? This is the context in which I want you to understand startup. And when we say it is a company or entity in the first stages of operations. It is not rich, it is not big, it doesn't have big offices, doesn't have big factories, doesn't have too many people. Just the mainly the founder and their innovative ideas. That's all they have. Hopefully they protect it through correct intellectual property rights. Right? To convert those ideas into assets owned by them means the startup and its founder. Otherwise, those intellectual property ideas that they come up with will very soon become public property. All the big companies will also copy those ideas and they see value. So all the Ambanis, Adanis, Tatas, Birlas, they'll copy those ideas. They have a lot of resources. They'll market it big time, and the startup founders who came up with the idea get nothing. What can they do when big huge Tata companies making and selling those products and services? These people can compete with Tata, okay, unless they have ownership of those innovative ideas through intellectual property rights. Okay. Can you see what I'm doing? I'm trying to explain the context of innovation and startup. There's so much meaning in the words also that are being used here. Innovation, startup, IPR, founders, entrepreneurship. The statement. Startups are founded by one or more entrepreneurs, people who are entrepreneurial, who can venture, do new things, come up with new ideas, try out new things, take risks. Hopefully, those risks are calculated risks, not uncalculated, reckless, not calculated risks. Startups are founded by one or more entrepreneurs who want to develop a product or service for which they believe there is demand, right? So entrepreneurs usually will not do something just for the sake of it or as a hobby which really doesn't provide any value or for which there is no demand. They try to address something for which there is a demand and do something or provide a product or service which has value in the market, in the world out there. So I hope you got a sense of in what context we are looking at the words innovation and startup, not the general layperson's understanding of these or of the meaning of these words, but there is a specific context and understanding of the meaning of these words. Now, let's look at the types of innovations and startups. Very often, when we talk about startups, many people think that startups, when we talk innovation and startups, there has to be technology involved. The innovation has to be technological in nature. It's almost many people think it's a must, not necessary. Very often, innovations are technological in nature, right? Startups are focused on technological products and services and solutions. Yes, that is the case, but they don't necessarily have have to be that way. You can have innovations and startups which are social in nature. They provide some service or some products which have social relevance and significance. Those can be good innovations, and corresponding to those innovative ideas, people can have startups they create. Right? There could be cultural or artistic innovations, right? There could be spiritual innovations that people can come up with, which can help a lot of people. You can have startups for this also, right? There could be business innovations, which people might come up with, right? And the last category that I mentioned over there is there could be technological innovations that people might come up with, technologically innovative ideas that people might. Okay. Technologically innovative ideas that people might come up with, which people might use as a basis for setting up a startup. Okay. Now, most of us would think startups would relate to the last two categories, business and technology, right? And most of the startups are in that domain. But you cannot undervalue or you cannot devalue the kind of social or cultural or artistic or spiritual startups that somebody might come up with, as long as they want to put it on a sound commercial footing. They want the whole venture to be self-sustaining. Because the first three categories, people अगर social हम कुछ कर रहे हैं तो हम उससे profit नहीं बना सकते. ओके आर्टिस्टिक कल्चरल है तो हम आर्ट या कल्चर प्रमोट करने के लिए कर रहे हैं इससे हमको पैसे नहीं बनाने हैं राइट spiritual thing somebody does we are doing it for spiritual benefit for the good of the world we don't want to make money out of it you can very well do that but maybe it will not be really categorized as a startup because a startup has to be self-sustaining it has to have a commercial angle to it. One way is because you make profit that sustains, it sustains future activity. Secondly, when any venture, whether it's technological, business, spiritual, artistic, cultural, or social, if it is making money, if it is profitable, that is a clear sign signal to us that this startup is working. It is delivering the goods. It's providing the products and services for which there is demand. People are willing to get this service. They are willing to pay for this. And that itself proves that this is the entire venture is so worthwhile. It makes sense. It's making a difference in the community out there. You get this? In other words, it's a measure. Okay? Making money is a measure that this thing is working. It's making a difference in the world out there. Why else will people pay you money to get that product or service? Right? So look at it in that context. And nothing wrong, nothing bad about providing some spiritual service or product or having a startup in that nature or a social thing where it is generating revenues, it's generating profits. You can very well plow back the profit back into the business, into the startup, make it grow, increase its reach. You can do that. Okay, get it? So this is the context in which we are talking about startups. Right? Let me go to the next slide. Here, I would next want to briefly mention and introduce to you, a software startup venture. Okay. When I say this, I myself am an inventor. Me and my father and brother, long time back, we had set up a startup company in the area of software. We came up with certain software features, and we felt to make this thing reach to the potential users in the world out there, we need to have a startup. Now, at that time, this was more than 20 years back, the word startup was not. Today, everybody talks about startup, right? But when we sort of created this startup, the word startup was not new, right? So even we didn't know that what we have created is a startup. Now we can see, oh, probably it's that. Okay, so I just want to talk about. Now, how does any venture or a startup venture really come about? What gives birth to a startup or a startup venture? What do you think? Where does everything start from? Can somebody tell me? I'm asking you, you can answer. How does a startup start? What is the source? What is the beginning of a startup? Yes, the need of the product, right? Excellent answer. Please, a round of applause. Excellent answer. The need. Okay. You can say need of the product. Oh, there is a problem which is being faced, and there's no solution for that currently. Then you get the idea. We need a product like this which will solve this problem. That's how a startup starts. Very often, right? Imagine a scenario where somebody thinks, you know what, I've already, I'm so experienced, I'm so brilliant, I'm so smart, I'm so technically qualified. Let me start a startup, right? And I'll do a market survey or I'll ask some consultant which line of business I should start the startup in. Okay, right? Does that appeal to you? Okay, as such, they don't have any problem in mind. They want to have a startup. Now they are looking what problem should we solve, right? Maybe that can work, but may not be very strong.
You're going on YouTube live, so we want your face.
Sorry. Okay. So that may also work, but may not be a very organic way of creating a startup based on the pull of the need. It's not, it's reverse. I'm here, I want to do something, tell me what problem to solve. So you may have 50 different options, you do some study or some analysis and you pick one problem and solve. What do you think the level of commitment and passion will be of the founder or the founders or the entrepreneurs in that kind of a startup venture? Right? I don't want to be judgmental. I only say I don't know what the level of commitment and interest will be and for how long, right? Because tomorrow something else strikes them, they might move on to that, right? However, if somebody is pulled by the need, problems being faced, and I have certain skills in this area, I have a certain level of commitment, interest, and emotional buying into that problem and getting solutions for that. Imagine what are the chances that the whole venture, that startup, might really make a difference in the world. Just think about it. Okay, right? So the reason why we got into this whole startup thing is we saw a problem in the area of software. And in particular, the problem that we saw, we were actually developing some software systems, management and accounting systems. Then we saw that very often we are dealing with textual strings, which have to be very often fitted into different kind of small. One report it needs a certain size, another report the same text has to fit there's a certain different size. Sometimes it's one row, sometimes the cell has three rows, two rows, like that. Every time we were wasting time editing that string and fitting it into what our slot was available. So then we felt, there is a need to avoid wasting so much time. It's not just we are doing this, many other people also will be wasting their time and energy just editing these strings repeatedly again and again and fitting here and there. That's the problem that we saw. And we came up with a solution for automatically fitting in or abbreviating that. And later on, a related invention where it's not just one string, but information arrays, means tables or spreadsheets where information is spread in rows and columns of a table or spreadsheet. If suppose that kind of a format is created on a big screen like a laptop over here, and somebody sends that information to a friend or a colleague, who's going to watch that same big table on a mobile phone screen? So it has been created on a small screen. Now somebody wants to watch it. The friend wants to watch it on a small screen of a mobile phone or a portable device where the screen is less than one tenth the size, but the table is as big. The question was, can you automatically fit that format into this much smaller screen without the person having to go there and edit for a small screen? It's very problem. That's the problem we saw, and that's the second solution that we give. Right? Problem felt need, which is causing trouble, wasting time and energy, and causing irritation. When the time we spend editing that thing, we are not doing the value added real work that we are supposed to be doing, right? That was the problem, and this is how we came up with this. And to put it, the whole thing on a sound footing, we thought it's better we set up a company, a private limited company. You can call it a startup now, okay? And also get intellectual property right protection on our innovative solutions to that problem. We have come up with some software features, some software solutions to that problem. We felt, okay, we need to get IP protection. So we filed patents for that. Two inventions, two patents in India, applications we filed, two in the US. And we felt, okay, once the IP right is in our name, the demo and simple programs we can make, but these features have to be built into all the big software programs and systems that are being sold across the world. Now we can't go into Microsoft software like their Excel software, and we can't add our feature into their Excel system without their permission. So the idea is we cannot ourselves implement this. If Microsoft wants to get this feature in their Excel spreadsheets or in their table or in their textual Word editor or something like that, they have to come and take a license from us based on our patent and then put it into their system. This was the whole idea about going about this whole thing, right? So this is how we thought about the startup problem, potential solution, then how to structure the entity, how to protect the ideas, the innovative ideas, those sort of intellectual assets through intellectual property rights, and then see what best we can do. Right? But what we were not aware of, which we came to know much later, was the challenges. Right? At that time. What are the nature of the challenges? Three main categories. Uncertainty relating to how much time is involved in working on this, getting into market, and then waiting for somebody to buy your thing or license your thing. Right? प्रोडक्ट तो हमने बनाया है, सोल्यूशन तो हमारे पास रेडी है, बट अभी वेट करना है कि कोई आके खरीदे. Right? Cost involved. Okay. Cost involved in terms of developing the technology, then getting the IP right protection, keeping the entity, the company going, right? Same thing for the time involved for developing the technology, getting the IP rights protected. It doesn't happen automatically, magically, or for free. It takes time, money, effort, energy, attention over a long period. That's what. And then success. Uncertainty. In a startup, there's uncertainty about the success of the venture. So when we say success, there are different aspects to success or different ways you can have success. One is technically, are you able to develop the product and technically make it work? At least the product is there, or the service is there, and it is working, and you can give it to somebody. That is one aspect of having success technically. Second aspect of success is, are you successfully able to get a patent or other IP rights registered on that intellectual property, on that asset? Is the government actually granting you a patent certificate? Whether in India or if you're doing in the US, there are they giving you the patent certificate, which will then give you exclusive right on that technology? That's another aspect of success. We could have failures, any of these aspects, right? And any of these aspects fails, the whole venture fails. Get this, okay? And the third aspect of success is the most critical. Itna to these are to a large extent in our hands, right? Technology, developing, getting it working, largely in our hands. Getting the IP rights, at least preparing and filing the application and prosecuting it in the patent office is in our hands. The decision will come from the controller of patents, but okay, fair amount of chance of it being done. But the final aspect, is this working as a business? Is somebody buying this technology which is patented? Somebody doing it? Is there any guarantee? Is there any way anybody can assure that any product that we have developed and launched in the market, people are actually going to pay money for that product or service, and then that's how we generate revenue, and that is finally the ultimate measure of success, right? Is somebody buying it, paying money for it, and you get something in return for all the time, effort, money, and aggravation, okay, stress, tension, time spent, attention spent for that. Are you getting anything in return? That's the question, right? So, lot of uncertainty about the whole process. Can you see this? Now, you people, all of you who are looking at or considering becoming entrepreneurs and maybe startup entrepreneurs, it's a fact, it's a reality. You will have to face this. I won't sugarcoat it and say, नहीं यार तुम अभी ज्यादा सोचो मत सीधा कूद जाओ इसमें आंख बंद करके कूद जाओ सब अच्छे से होगा ऊपर वाला देख लेगा I don't want to tell you that. No. You will face this. You should actually be aware of this and you should be prepared that as part of this venture, it's my job, it's my responsibility, it's my duty to face these challenges and make the venture work. Get this? Are you getting what I'm saying? Because entrepreneurs are not ordinary people, right? The ones who may, and I have nothing against people doing jobs and very great, nothing, no issues and all that. But entrepreneurship and technically people who work on new technologies where something may work or it may fail, you need a particular type of people to work as an entrepreneur or maybe as a researcher or as a technical expert or a technologist who develops something or somebody who's trying a new business innovation and they are setting a venture to make that work out. You need a different category of people, right? Somebody who has the job mentality. मेरा काम है I'll come at 9 o'clock and 5:30 or 6 o'clock. Till then I'll do my duty and then I'll go home and do my whatever I want to do. Right? As long as I'm putting in my hours, whatever is told to me, I will do, and then I will. That's not an entrepreneurial or a technological mindset. Okay. Entrepreneur, apart from the fact that they are willing to venture into things, they are willing to take risks, they are also people who have a problem solving mentality. Okay. Now, who are the people who can think about solving a problem? Only those people can think about solving a problem who can actually recognize, see, and acknowledge first that there is a problem. Something is not working well, which needs to be taken care of, which needs to be fixed. Okay? If you are, for example, a kind of a person with a typical employee mentality, I don't want to be judgmental when I say typical, just for the sake of example, I'm using the word typical. I'm not saying all employees are like this. Okay, so I don't want to ask. So please take it in that context of an example. Okay. If there is an employee, suppose they work for a technology product oriented company, okay, and the company has been facing problem last 1 year where one of their products which has been launched in the market, usually in about 6 to 8 months time, 30% of the products fail and they get the products back. There are complaints, it's not going down well with the customers of that company. There is some aspect of the product that is failing. So there can be two categories of employees in that company. One category will be ठीक है हम लोग तो हमारा प्रोडक्ट बना के बेच रहे हैं अभी भी काफी सेल्स हो रहे हैं वैसे 70% तो अच्छे से काम कर रहे हैं 30% में 6-8 महीने में प्रॉब्लम आ रहा है ठीक है यार अगर कुछ हो गया तो हो गया ठीक है मैं तो मेरा 6 बजे तो घर जाऊंगा राइट या जाऊंगी okay there can be another category of employee over there okay how come this is happening and we are still not able to fix this problem. What's causing this high rate of failure of 30% in 6 to 8 months in our product? And imagine the damage that is causing to the company, to our reputation, and how much trouble it is for people who are paying money and buying our product. We need to get this solved. We need to fix this thing. Not that that person has been promised some bonus or something, some incentive if you solve this problem. No, the person feels, okay, we are in this business, this is our job, and if you can't give a good, reliable product, it is my problem. I want to think of a way of solving this. So you need a person with that kind of a mentality. I'm talking a technical problem. An entrepreneur could be looking at a business problem or some other solution that is required in the world out there. Right? They should have that problem solving mentality, that proactive nature. Proactive. Okay? ऐसे नहीं कि कोई आके मेरे को बोलेगा तो मैं करूंगा. Right? We see there is a problem and I am interested. My mind is already working. What's the problem and how do we solve this as soon as possible? Right? We be the person that kind of mentality. Look at whether you would, what kind of person or a contributor or a worker or a business person or an entrepreneur you would like to be. Think about that for yourself. Right? I don't want to say this is good and that is not so good. I don't want to say that. ओके डिफरेंट स्ट्रोक्स फॉर डिफरेंट फोक्स ठीक है आप अपना देख लो जिसमें आपको इंटरेस्ट है जहां पे आपको एक पुल आ रहा है वहां पे आप काम कीजिए अपने तरीके से ठीक है राइट सो दिस इज द होल थिंग अबाउट एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप स्टार्टअप इनोवेशन एंड वेंचर now, what happened next? We had filed two papers. This is just to complete this particular example. I'm just telling what happened very briefly. A lot of things happened over many years, but very briefly, I want to conclude this thing. What happened next is we had applied for two patents in India, two in the US. We got one patent granted in India, both the patents granted in the US. And eventually, we were able to commercialize the US patents. Because in the US, they take patents seriously. They are willing to pay money for it. In India, still, even now, I would say patents have relatively less value. Very few commercial transactions happen in relation to patents. Hopefully, the situation is improving and it will improve further as we go along. Okay. Another problem that we had in India, this was in the early 2000s, around that time. As I mentioned, we had filed two patents in India, only one was granted. The first patent, when it came up before the patent office, the controller rejected that application saying software patents are not allowed in India. Right? Not that the invention was not patentable or it was not new, it was not innovative. That was not the reason. Main reason was software patents are not allowed in India. And the amazing thing was, by that time, in the early 2000s, the government of India had amended the patent law to make software inventions also patentable in India, right? But the patent office didn't know that the patent law is amended and software inventions are patentable. Who didn't know that? Not some layperson on the street. The patent office didn't know that the patent law is amended and this is permissible, right? Maybe they didn't know or maybe they knew, but nobody wanted to be the first to grant a software patent in India. Because then they become an innovator, something new they are doing. Till now, no patents were granted for software. So this controller or this examiner becomes the first person to grant a patent on software. Now that's scary for people. I don't want to be the first in anything. If something goes wrong, I'll be first to be blamed. Right? So let me carry on. And I'll just say, no software patents have been granted in India. So I will also not. This can be one of them, right? Or I don't know what other reasons. Okay. So this is as regards this. Can you go to the next slide? Okay. When it comes to startup venturing, a few aspects I'll go over in the next few slides. I'll try to go over quickly. And then we'll go on to some other aspects and some examples and case studies. Okay. Startup venturing. First thing that you have to think about is when you have a startup, you need to have an entity. What kind of entity would you like to create? How many people are there? Is it only one person is doing something or there is a team of people, a team of founders would be doing? It could be maybe you and your classmates or your friends or your relatives or somebody like that or someone with similar interest who's interested in solving a particular problem. You could get together and form an entity. It could be a proprietary firm, okay, or a one-person company. It could be a partnership firm where there are multiple partners. Typically, they'll be the founders. Or it could be a LLP, which is a limited liability partnership. This is a relatively new type of entity in India, where it's basically a partnership firm. The regulatory requirements, compliance requirements are much less than a private limited company, but nonetheless, your liability is limited. This is the LLP. It's a good vehicle or entity structure to use for a startup. And obviously, there is this whole thing called a private limited company that you can set up. So you need to have an entity which would be in charge of, responsible for, and managing this whole startup venture, right? Funding at different stages, you have to be aware of that. One is whether you want to give equity or debt, right? Equity, when you give, what happens is dilution. And when initially the founders will have 100% ownership equity of the venture, then they want to either get some funding or some technical expertise or some other kind of investment, maybe some facilities or some products or something. So then they want to get that from somebody. They don't have cash with them. So they have to give a part of their company. They have to sell a part of the company or give shares of the company. So to that extent, the founders get help. And there are different stages, initially you source it from yourself, your family members, maybe your husband, your wife, or your parents or somebody, maybe relatives or friends, etc. Then you go a little next level, angel funding. Then there are other levels of funding. That every time you do this, there is dilution happening. And at a certain point of time, even before the business has taken off in terms of generating revenue, you might be faced with a situation where you are diluted so much that effectively you are at risk of losing control of the company, right? So this is something you have to be careful about. Keep in mind. The alternative is you get debt funding, okay, which means it's not risk capital, it's not equity capital, it is debt which you are bound to return. So in the venture phase, you are still left with that liability of that. So it's a difficult job to decide and balance what you need to do. We don't have time and I don't have the expertise to tell that for your venture which will be best. But these are the issues that you have to keep in mind when you think of setting up your venture and when you want to go about doing this. Right? Okay. Can we go to the next slide? Now, here is the critical part. The founders and what they are doing. Right? What are their roles and responsibilities? Because if you see, when a startup is created and it's starting its initial operations, what does the startup have? It has nothing except the founders and their brains and their innovative idea. Other than that, they don't have too many assets. They don't have too much money. They don't have big offices or factories. They don't have too many employees. In fact, they may have no employees. Right? So the only resource or asset that a startup will have will be the founder and their ability to think about innovative ideas and then to be in action and implement those ideas. That's what you have. So can you see having founders, good founders, who are matched with the kind of venture that you are looking to set up and make a success of is critically important. Right? If it's a technology-oriented venture, okay, having one of the founders who's actually a musician, do you think it will be relevant to that kind of a startup? It's a technology oriented venture, but one of the founders is a musician. Why? Because he's a brother of one of the other founders. So they've got it. Unless maybe that musician is like a successful musician who's made a lot of money and he or she is contributing a lot of money to the startup right in the beginning. Maybe then it will make sense as a person who's funding. Get this? So there will be usually multiple founders. There can be single person company or a proprietary firm also. One person may come up with the idea and may have the daring, so called, the courage, right? The proactive nature to set up and run that firm and provide that product or service by his or herself. Can happen. But usually there will be multiple founders so that you have different kind of skill sets, expertise, experience, and multiple people working on the venture. That's the concept of having multiple founders. So the question that arises is, why is somebody there in that startup as a founder or on the board, right? There should be clarity about why they are there. What are they contributing in the whole venture, right? Not just at the starting stage. Because today, when you're starting that startup, the roles might be well defined and clear, and this is what is required. But as time passes and the startup does certain things, implements certain things, gets funding, as is in action, then can you see the situation is changing? The activities that the startup is involved in are changing, the requirements of the roles, they are also changing. So in the beginning, a certain founder was doing a certain kind of a role. Maybe after 6 months or 1 year or 2 years, that kind of a role is not required, or it's required in a very modified form, and some other skills might be more required. Initially, more technical development, expertise, skill, and work is required. Later on, you also need marketing people, good, strong marketing people with those kind of skills, right? After maybe a year or 2 months, the product is developed. So can you see it's the very tricky thing having clarity of roles and responsibilities at the start of the venture, and then as time passes, as the venture evolves, as the environment, the business and the environment around this venture evolves and changes, you need there is going to be a scenario where the roles and responsibilities and requirements from the founders or the people who are running the business will also change. Very logical, right? Right? How do you manage that? Have you thought about this? After 6 months, what will we need? After 1 year, what will we need? After 2 years, 3 years, what will we need? Are you planning for that? Right? And suppose you see this person very important in the beginning and for the first 1 year, but after 1 year, we see that his role is going to reduce and diminish. How do you prepare and plan for that? Right? Will you give them some alternative role or get them trained to do something else? Or maybe that person has to leave. Who knows? But the problem here, it's not so easy to say you leave, right? Because as a founder, that person might be having a 53% stake in the company, and after 1 year is not doing any work. So then why is he having 33% stake? That is the question that will be arising in the minds of the other founders, right? Do you see some of the issues involved with potential founders and an ongoing basis? What is the work, the roles and responsibilities that they will be fulfilling? Very important to think about this. Because when you're starting a venture, you'll think, oh, बाद में लेंगे, 1 साल, 2 साल के बाद. But you won't believe how fast that 2 साल के बाद that day will come. 2 years pass just like that, right? And you'll be faced with this. So think about this, consider you can't perfectly anticipate and plan for this, but you have to be aware of these kind of factors also. Very, very important to be aware of this. And try to see whether we can anticipate and take care of these aspects also. Plan what happens when roles, responsibilities, involvement of some founders, key persons changes. Right? Sometimes what might happen is there are four founders, okay, all committed. Next few years, 4 years, we are all going to work hard and going to make this venture a success. Okay, all high hopes, all enthusiasm, all positivity among all the four founders. Okay, and 6 months later, what happens? One of the key founders comes and tells the other three founders, who are his colleagues and friends, right? You know what? I have found the best person in the world, okay? And she's moving to America. So along with her, I'm also going there and I'll take up a job or I'll study or I'll set up a business there. So from now onwards, I'll not be involved. I can't be involved in this venture, right? So one of the critical founders, 6 months back, all into it. 6 months later, his world has changed and they have other priorities. This to him doesn't look so important after 6 months. They want to be, that person wants to be there. And what will this venture? One is who will take care of the roles and responsibilities that person was doing, right? And when this person leaves after 6 months, where very little of the work of the startup has been done, will he still have 25% stake? Is it fair? Okay, three of them will be working and this person better 25% will have. Do you think it's fair? You have to think, visualize and plan for these kind of scenarios. And how do you do that? By having written agreements and understanding. One is between the founder and between any party that the venture or the startup or the entity or the company deals with. It could be employees, founders, investors, it could be suppliers, it could be potential customers, so many people, partners, affiliates, etc. You should have written agreements or understandings with all these wide ranges and categories of people or entities that you're dealing with to have clarity on this to the extent possible. Now, you can't have a perfect understanding and perfect clarity on all these things, but to the extent you are aware and you take care to provide for such eventualities, that will only help your venture going forward. Because a startup venture, like any business, like life itself, is very unpredictable and very uncertain. You think this is what we'll do 6 months, this will happen 1 year, this will happen 2 years. It will never happen like that. Forget what you thought 2 months, 2 years later this will happen. Even what you thought 6 months later will happen is not going to happen. One thing you will learn in a venture, and many of you would already have learned this in your life itself. What you are thinking is going to happen in 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, unlikely to happen. That's just you're hoping for it or you're guessing or estimating that it will happen. May not actually turn out in most of the cases. There'll be a few rare people for whom it may happen for a period of time. Exactly 6 months, ये होना था, हो गया. एक साल ये होना हो गया. But then second year, definitely there's going to be a big divergence on what was expected, what you were thinking was going to happen, and what actually, right? You have to be prepared for this. It's a, after all, a venture. It's a risky thing. Can we go to the next slide now? Okay. Protecting your innovations and intellectual property through the proper intellectual property rights is very, very important. Because as I mentioned, the one of the critical assets or one of the very limited assets that a startup has will be the minds, the brains, the innovative ideas, the thoughts, the intellectual assets of the founders and the main key players, right? A startup is unlikely to have a lot of money. They are unlikely to have a lot of employees. They are unlikely to have a lot of big offices. They are unlikely to have factories. They are unlikely to have too many big contracts. Some do, and that's on the basis on which they start. Okay? What is the one thing that they have? Is their mind, their innovative ideas, their enthusiasm. That is what startups lucky. That's supposed to be the biggest asset that they have. And if you can't protect their intellectual property ideas, their thoughts, their know-how, their expertise, as reflected in intellectual property which can be protected, then you have a problem. So, can you see how critical it is to protect these intellectual things, assets, thoughts, know-how, concepts, or intellectual creation through the correct type of intellectual property right? Okay. Now, since you haven't attended the IPR session which was held before this in the morning, I'll quickly introduce the four main types of intellectual property rights, which I have not planned on doing, but I'll quickly introduce. The four main types of intellectual property rights that most of us come across or deal with in our personal and professional lives would be patent rights for technology innovations, industrial design registration right for aesthetic designs applied to industrial products, trademark rights applied for branding related marks like logos, trade names, taglines, etc. And the fourth category is copyright for expressed works such as cinematographic, artistic, literary, or musical works. Okay. Now let me explain this a little bit. There are two categories of things when we talk about intellectual property and intellectual property right. These are two different things. Intellectual property is the thing that is generated in somebody's mind, somebody's brain. That can be an asset. It's an intellectual asset. It's a thought. It's a know-how. It's an idea. It's an idea for a movie. It could be an idea for a improved product. It could be an idea for a song recording. It could be an idea for a logo or a trademark. Or it could be an idea for writing a book. Right? Or it could be an idea, okay, can I make this AC working the same way but the external box and make it design it such that it looks much better. It is good to look at. So I designed this AC box not to make it work better, it's already working fine. But I designed this AC dabba, this box, to make it look good, right? Similarly, you can say that, a mobile phone that I have, for example, this one, okay, not just it should work well and help me do calls and, take photographs, have internet access on it. It should work well, it should do the functionality very well, but I also want this mobile phone to look good. So I give it a nice, good, attractive shape. Such shapes are protected through industrial design registration. Okay, whether mobile phone or the laptop or this AC or the fan or the light or the car or the chair or the table, anything. When you change the shape or improve the design of a product such that it looks good or different or better and works the same only. Functionally, there is no difference. Working of the product doesn't change, only it looks good or different. Such things are protected from industrial design registration. However, in my mobile phone, suppose I improve some part of this mobile phone such that it works better. Then what should I file for? What intellectual property right should I file for my idea relating to making some part of this phone work better, not look better, work better. Right? What should I file? The intellectual property right I should apply for will be a patent right. So when I improve a technology, when I improve a product or a process for making something or doing something, the IP right I should apply for will be a patent right. Okay, let me give you an example. This phone has many different parts. Okay, it has a screen, it has a processor, it has memory, it has battery, it has internet connectivity, it has a camera, it has sound recording, video recording, uh, Bluetooth technology, all different technologies in one device. Can you see? Okay, and all of these are invented and old technology. I'm not going to patent on any of this, not on the mobile phone concept as a whole, because again the concept is old, and not for these different parts like this display or the camera or the battery or something. I can't get a patent. Okay? But suppose I come up with an idea for an improved display for this mobile phone, the screen where I see things, right? I come up with an idea for an improved display for this mobile phone, and it is improved in the sense improved compared to existing displays and existing technology. So what I'm doing, the improvement is new and innovative and first in the world. Can I get a patent on that? Yes, right? So it's a working wise the display is better. For example, there are existing displays. Suppose I improve this display such that the resolution of my improved display is two times of the resolution of existing displays. Do you think that's an improvement in the display? Two times the resolution, right? Or I might come up with an improvement which is the color reproduction capacity of my display, which is improved, is much better and more lifelike compared to existing display. Or somebody might come up with an improvement in this display where the display consumes half the power of existing displays. Existing displays, when they run, they consume X amount of energy. My display showing the same things on the screen will consume only 0.5x, half the energy. Means on one charge, my battery will last much longer. Because on the main usages, we are watching things on the screen, right? And if there is 50% power saved on the display, my battery on one charge will last much longer. Can you see there is a product, a part improvement, there is a technology improvement and advancement happening here? The display itself is an improved technology. That physical part is an improved technology because something inside the display are done. That's why it's consuming half the power, or that's why its resolution is better. It's not happening through magic, right? So somebody has done something in the display, its construction or something, or the parts used within it, components, which is making it give better resolution or better color or consume half the power, right? That's a technology improvement or improved working technologies which are new and innovative. Nobody else in the world has done it. You can apply for and obtain a patent for that. Okay. And patent, what can I get for the product itself? Improved display, and I can also get a patent on. I have come up with a process of manufacturing the display which consumes half the power. There's a different process I have to use to manufacture that display, right? So I can patent the part itself, means the improved display, and I can patent the process, the method, the steps for manufacturing this improved display. So what kind of inventions can be patented? Product inventions, process inventions, both can be patented as long as they are new, innovative, and useful. Get this? So got a sense of for what you file a patent and for what you file an industrial design application. Good looking design given to the phone, file an industrial design registration application. It works the same old way. But if I improve the display or I improve the battery such that on a single charge the battery will last for 2 days, double the time, then I've improved the battery, right? I didn't invent the battery by the way, it's already there. But I improve it such that on a single charge it lasts for 2 days. That's a technology improvement. It's not merely good looking or shape or something. It's a technology improvement. You can get a patent from it. So find a patent for such technological innovations, which we call as inventions. Get it? Technological innovations I call invention. And as for patent, that's all. Right? Okay. So patents for technologies, improved technologies, we have covered and understood. Industrial design registration for aesthetic, good looking or different looking designs applied to industrial products, that also we have understood. Right? Anybody confused or unclear about this? Are you clear what is a patent for and what is an industrial design registration for? Right? Okay. Now what is left is trademark and copyright. Trademark is for branding related marks. Like for example, here on the back, the word Samsung is written. Okay, this laptop will have some name on the back. HP, right? Now when somebody reads Samsung or HP, what does that tell? That thing has Onida written there, right? These are marks which identify and tell me that this AC is manufactured by this company called Onida, right? And it's not coming from, say, General, or it's not coming from Blue Star, or it's not coming from other company, it's coming from Onida. The trade branding related mark identifies the source of origin of that product or this product. I know, you know, when you see this name, this is coming not from Apple, this is coming from Samsung. It's not coming from some other company, Panasonic or something. This is coming from Samsung. This is not a Dell laptop. This is a HP laptop. You know the source of origin. And along with that mark is a certain brand value, a certain assurance of quality and certain standards associated and a lot of goodwill associated with each of these. So these marks, which could be logo mark, right? Or it could be a word mark, like Onida. Onida is a meaningless word. Samsung is the name of that particular company. HP is a acronym for Hewlett Packard, right? And written in a certain style, right? These logo marks or word marks or taglines. Okay, what's a tagline? For example, the word "Ye dil mange more," not the word, the phrase. Do you know? Ye dil mange more is associated with which product or company? Can somebody tell me? Ye dil mange more. Pepsi? थोड़ा the older people, आजकल probably they don't promote this much, right? But about 20 years back, this was very much in use by Pepsi. Okay? How many of you have seen the movie Sher Shah? Captain Vikram Batra. You've seen? Okay? Right? 99 Kargil War. He was the captain, the hero of the one of the heroes of the war who went and captured one point or hill there. He came down, and I remember seeing this on TV, right? Barkha interviewed him, and he said, this stuck in my mind from that time. One of the things he said is, "Ye dil mange more." This was the tagline of Pepsi was using, and Captain Vikram Batra, after capturing the first point, he came down and he said this on TV. I saw this myself, right? And then within a few days, again he went another point. They captured it, but he lost his life. And he was saying through this phrase, मेरे को एक काफी नहीं है, मेरे को जाके और भी capture करना है. That was his spirit. And imagine when he said this at that time, how it has helped Pepsi. Because this was actually the tagline of Pepsi, he was using it. Free promotion for Pepsi on a large scale nationwide, right? And a very positive kind of a promotion, right? Get this? So that's a tagline. So such marks which identify the source of origin, from which company or person this thing is coming, right? Those are protected by registration as a trademark because these marks are being used in trade. When you're buying or selling a product or a service and you're using this mark on the packaging, on the product itself, or on the brochures, or on the website, in the invoice, all these marks are there, right? Then you are using these marks in trade. That's why you need to register a trademark. And copyright is for express works. Like if you write a book, a storybook, or a help file, or a guide, or something, or you have musical talent, you sing a song nicely and you record it, or you make a movie, or you take a photograph, or you make a painting, or you make a sculpture. These are express works, and value of these works is in the expression. Suppose I have a book. Okay, what value does that book have? I've written a nice story, a book. It is printed. What value does the book have? Does it have any functional value? No, it does not. But I and other people might enjoy reading that book. We might emotionally enjoy reading the book. There's no other value to a book. Suppose somebody makes a nice movie. Okay, say Dharma Productions, they make a nice movie. 1 year they spend 100 crores, they spend 300 people are working for 1 year. At the end of 1 year, what do they have in their hands to show for all this time, effort, and money spent? They have a movie recording on an electronic medium, right? Nothing else to show for that, right? And what value does that movie have? Can you tell me? Can you guess? We don't know. They spent 100 crores, but what value it has, we don't know. So when it's released, go to the movie theater. If people like you and me, we go with our families, we watch that movie, we make it a hit, then it has value. So 100 crore cost, the movie earns 500 crores. That's the value, right? Or 100 crores sunk, movie earns 50 crores loss, right? But can you see when I go and watch that movie in the theater, functionally, work-wise, I don't get any benefit out of that movie. I just go there, spend 2.5 hours sitting, staring at the screen, and then I come back home. What do I get? There's nothing I get out of it. Or do I get something? Can you tell me? Do I get any functional working value out of that movie or watching the movie? The expression is the movie recording, the sound, the images, the dialogues, the songs, sound effects. That is the expression, and how I perceive it is by watching the movie. Okay? In a book, the pages of the book, the lines, paragraph, phrases, words, that's the expression. And how do I perceive a book? How do I perceive that expression? Can you tell me? How do I perceive that book and the lines in the book? Do I watch the book? What do I do the book? Read, right? So expression is the words, etc. I perceive it by reading it. And I get no other value, functional value. Okay? Movie is in the form of video and audio. I perceive it by watching it. Suppose there is a song somebody has recorded. That's the expression. How do I perceive the song? By listening, right? So these are express works. Value of these works are in the expression and perceiving it by human beings. Okay. Now it's not fair to say the movie has no value, book has no value, song has no value, because for human beings who are emotional beings, a good movie has a lot of value. They enjoy watching it. They go and watch it 5 times also if they really enjoy. They'll read a book 3 times. They listen to the song 200 times, right? So functional value nothing, but these emotional beings called human beings, they emotionally enjoy listening to a song, reading a good book, or watching a good movie, right? Or looking at a good painting. And therefore it has value. No functional value, but value is in the expression. Get this? So this is copyright protects such works. Okay. Last thing I want to say on these four types of intellectual property categories and the intellectual property rights corresponding is when it comes to industrial design and patent registration, you must file the application before you make that technology, that invention, or that design public. Till then, you have to keep your invention or your new design secret. File the patent or design application. Only then you can disclose in public without losing your intellectual property rights. Right? If you disclose it before you file the patent application or the industrial design registration application, most likely your application will be rejected because requirement is your invention or design has to be new and innovative. Okay? However, situation is very different when it comes to copyrights and trademarks. A company or a person might use a trademark for 10 years, not register it. After 10 years, they can go and apply for registration. So it's not mandatory to first register a trademark and then use it. You can use it for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and then go and apply for registration. In fact, if you use it for 10 years and apply for trademark registration after 10 years, your application will be considered very strong because the trademark examiner will see they have actually used this mark in trade for 10 years. So trademark rights have already accrued to you or your company through actual usage in trade. Trademark rights don't accrue to you merely by registration, they accrue to you by actual usage also. Right? Same thing copyright. You may publish the copyrightable work, and then after 6 months you can go and register, or you can register the copyright, apply for registration in advance, and then publish it. It's up to you. It's not mandatory to register copyright and trademark. You can do it before or after. However, when it comes to patents and industrial design registrations, you have to keep these things, these intellectual assets, these ideas, these know-how, these technology, the design secret till the time the patent or design application is done. Once you file it, you get your filing receipt with the patent or design application number. After that, you can disclose without losing your intellectual property. Okay, get this? I hope this aspect is clear. These are the four main types of intellectual property rights. Now, this was a little bit of a digression into types of IPR since you did have an introduction to this beforehand. Let's come to the second point, scalability. Very important in a startup to consider the issue of whether the business is scalable. Two aspects to it. One is can you one aspect of it is creating a market demand. Can there be a big demand for this product if this works out? Or even maximum, if you capture 100% of the market, that market will still be very small, very niche kind of a product. This is a factor you have to think about, keep in mind when you're thinking of venturing into this whole startup in a particular category of product assets. And suppose you are able through marketing or word of mouth or through some or the other way, able to generate a lot of interest, a lot of demand. Are you in a position? Is your startup, is your company in a position to actually fulfill that demand? Maybe make and sell that product or provide that service, say, startup all India level or statewide Maharashtra level. Can you actually do that? That's another aspect that you have to keep in mind because startups are not expected to be small forever. They start small, but then they are expected to grow in some reasonable time frame, maybe 3 years, 5 years, 8 years down the line, they are expected to grow. So this looking at this aspect of scalability is very important. Competition and change in business or technology environment. Nothing is certain, nothing is fixed, nothing is unchanging in life and in business and in technology. Can we start it? Okay, let me try and complete as soon as possible. I might have to skip a lot of the example and case studies, right? Because I was told 12:30 we have time and we also started 15 minutes late. Right? 12:30 was supposed to be time and we started 15 minutes late. I'm just mentioning this, not I try to complete as soon as possible. Okay. So when there is change in the environment in which your entity or your startup is operating, obviously you have to think what to do, right? You would have to either do course correction or redirection, or on a much larger scale, if that product or technology or that market suddenly, for some environmental, business, or regulatory reason, that business is completely gone or stopped, or some new technology has come which has made this technology totally obsolete suddenly, maybe in 2 years' time, and that can happen in today's world. Does happen in a lot of cases. Then you'll have to completely change, pivot your business or the strategy of the business. You might have to get into something that might be very different. You have to be conscious of this and see to what extent you can be prepared to do this thing. Okay. The question that startup founders and people who are running the startup or the entity or a business always face is, what should we focus on? Should we focus on growing the business or user base or getting eyeballs without really generating revenue? We are doing a lot of marketing, we are providing the service for free, we are getting a user base but not making money. Or you have to get more serious about actually generating serious revenues such that those revenues sustain the business. It's not that you created a lot of hype, you provide these services free just to get a base, and you get a lot of investment from people, and actually the business is not generating revenue. And at some point of time, the people who have invested and the people who are looking to invest will realize these people are just taking money, doing marketing, creating hype, and not generating revenue. So guess what? That business will not last very long. Right? So these are the aspects you have to think about. I can't say that focus only on revenue because you also need to get a user base. So it's a balancing that you have to do. Okay, can you have the next slide? Okay. Very important in a startup, as in any business or venture, or in an institute, or in your college, or class, or in your home, or in your friend circle, to communicate and keep people informed about what's happening. Especially in a startup venture, all the stakeholders, which could be between the founders themselves, there should be good communication. You won't believe, you think our founders must be nice, good friends and colleagues, and they'll be talking nicely to each other every day. I think necessarily. Maybe they started off nicely. After 6 months, they are not on talking terms. Can happen. Sometimes we have seen this kind of thing, right? So very important that communicating with customers, with suppliers, with employees, other affiliates, partners, etc. Very, very important. Exit strategy, right? Now, this is something that when people start up, they very often don't think about this, the exit strategy. They're thinking, let's start up and make this work. And after it works, or after it doesn't work, what happens? Nobody is bothered thinking about that. Yeah, they are thinking that will never happen, or that we will never have to face it, or that will never come. But surely it's going to come. Suppose your venture is a success, then also you have to think about an exit, right? Because if it's a successful venture, there will be 20 other ventures doing the same thing. They'll become your competition, one way or the other. Even if you have some or the other IP, they will in some way circumvent, to some extent at least, after a period of time, your IP and be competing with you. Therefore, you need an exit even for a successful venture. And if the venture anyway is not working out, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, you've consumed a lot of money, time, effort spent, nothing is coming out. Guess what? It's a hard decision, but you have to think about an exit strategy. Sometimes the business is carrying on, it's growing, it's working reasonably okay, but one of the founders wants to leave. You have to keep in mind that, and you have to have a plan for how that will be done. And how will the rest of the founders and the business carry on even when that founder exits? And also be aware there are a lot of government schemes, startup schemes, and various other organizations that help startup in terms of how to start up, what are the things to take care of, etc. A lot of help is available. If you're interested and when you start this, you can try and look for these resources, including you can do that on the internet itself. Can we go to the next slide? Okay. Right. I'll just complete this one last slide with important aspect. With your permission, ma'am. Okay. Let me. Okay. Now, having a venture for that, a startup for it, innovative idea, bringing it to market. Let's look at this aspect of what could be. These are just a few examples just to give you a flavor of innovations and what kind of things a startup or a company or a venture can work on. Okay, so clarity on types or levels of innovation. This is just an example trying to get the underlying point I'm making rather than pointing out or nitpicking on कि ये technically correct है या नहीं है या complicated है या simple है, all that. Just try to get the overall concept and point that I'm trying to make in terms of the types or levels of innovation. Suppose there is a company which has come up with a new washing machine, and imagine the director of that company comes to me and says, we have developed a new washing machine and we are going to launch it in about a month or two. And we know that if we want to patent the new washing machine, we have to do it in advance. If once we launch it, it becomes public, then our application for patent will be rejected if we file later. So first we must file, and only then we must launch the product. So that's why we have come to you. We want to patent this new washing machine, right? Okay. Now you can't patent the washing machine because already there are millions of washing machines in the market, and every manufacturer who launches a new product, upgraded product says, "My this is a new washing machine." Everybody has a new washing machine. So you can't patent a new washing machine. It's already well known. There are lakhs, if not millions, of such new washing machines already in the market. So the question that obviously I will ask will be, what is new about this washing machine? Okay, what is new about this washing machine? So this is what the director of the company tells me. One is the diameter of the washing drum in our washing machine is 20 inches. The maximum diameter that any of the existing washing machines provides is 18. Some provide 12-inch diameter of the drum, washing drum, some are 15, some 17, some 18. We are giving 20. That's a new feature, right? Okay. Second thing the person tells you is the external shape of the washing machine, the box, the design of it. Okay, we have changed and it looks different, it looks better. It's a new feature in our washing machine, very attractive design or shape, external of the washing machine box. Third thing the person says is we are offering 20 buttons on the control panel which is used to control the operation of the washing machine. Maximum number of buttons anybody has provided till now is 50. Some have 10 buttons, some 12, some give 50, but we are giving 20 buttons, right? Okay. So these are the innovative features. One more feature is we have developed a new software program which controls the operation of this washing machine. When the panel somebody presses the button, the software will interpret it and make the thing run. It's doing the same functionality, washing, rinsing, and drying. Same thing being done, but a new software program our programmer has written doing the same process. Okay? And one more thing, we are also going to give it a new name, this washing machine. All the new improved washing machine, the new technology, we give it a new name, which is Intello Wash Technology, new advanced technology washing machine. Intello Wash, that's the name they are giving it. Now, all these are examples to make you understand the point. Okay. So, what do you think are the innovations or the new ideas or the new concepts which could be registered as IPR here? Can you see a patentable invention here, a new technology improvement? Would you say the diameter of 20 inches for the washing drum, that's an advanced technology? Would anybody say that? Would anybody say that? Yeah, other people are giving 12-inch diameter, 15, 18-inch. We are giving 20-inch diameter. Is that a technology advancement? Or what IP is there in that which could be registered through some IP right? Can anybody tell me? This machine gives 20 buttons, others are giving maximum 15 buttons. What is the technology advancement there? New computer program doing the same function. Is there any advanced technology there? It's new, something different, but is there any technology advancement is the question? Because if you want to find the IP right for the patent, you need a technology advancement. Can anybody see any technology advancement here? Raise your hands, right? Or do you see these are just variation in sizes or number, not a technology improvement. Can you see the difference? Right? So all these so-called technical features are not technical innovations. They are just variations in size, okay, or number, or implementation of the software program doing the same functionality. Technology is the same, right? So do you think it makes sense to file a patent on any of these so-called improved features? Does it make sense? Is there any new technology product or improvement in this? Anybody? Nobody, right? So there is no technology improvement. So therefore, even if you file a patent, it is likely that the patent application on these features will be rejected unless you show some technology improvement. However, the shape of the box of the washing machine, assuming it's new, different, and attractive, can that be registered in some form of IP right? Can you tell me what IP right could be applied for that, the new shape, which makes it look better or different? What IP right can you apply for? Sorry? Trademark for the shape of the box, the shape of the AC, which makes it look good. What do we apply for that? Trademark? No, no. Only two other options are left. You can try that. Design, right? Industrial design registration. For aesthetic designs applied to industrial products, the IP right type you will apply for will be an industrial design registration which will protect the shape without affecting the working or functionality of the product. Got it? Right? So on that you can do. New name that they have coined. Advanced technology, IntelliWash technology. IntelliWash. How would you register that IP? What's the nature of that? It's a identification mark, a branding mark. So what will you file for that? Trademark, right? A trademark application you file for the name IntelliWash. Again, it's a point, and it should be new. Nobody else should be using it, right? And guess what happens? People will also find one or more patents. Normally what they will come and tell us, see, anyway, we are spending so much time, effort, and money, crores and crores of rupees, marketing, manufacturing, everything, and we are going to promote it as new technology. So we know that for these features, no patent is likely to be granted. But we still want to file one or two patents on this so that we can claim that this machine has patent pending advanced technology, the new patent pending washing machine. Right? So for the purposes of doing their branding and marketing, they might still ask us file one or two draft something, some feature, something or a combination of this and file a patent. Because when you file it, that patent application stays pending for a few years. And during that period, you can claim it's patent pending technology. After a few years, it will be rejected. But by then, these people have already done their marketing. They've got the marketing branding value out of it. They've exploited it. They've got their money. Anyway, they're spending crores and crores. They can spend a lakh or two on the patent application filing and processing process. So this is how the innovations can potentially be protected through filing the IP, right? Okay. Let's look at one more example. This was a new product innovation example. Okay, and there's a new product, and we saw what was the nature of the innovation in this. Now let's look at the next example, new technology innovation. Imagine a director of a company or a startup which is manufacturing cars or looking to work on some aspects of the technology going into a car comes and tells us that we have come up with a more fuel efficient car. Okay, and we want to patent this before we launch this. Right? Now, fuel efficient, firstly, cars are already known, millions of them. Fuel efficient cars also thousands, if not lakhs of them are already on the road. So just this much is not enough. And by the way, fuel efficiency is a result, it's not a product, it's not a process, it's not an improved technology, it's an outcome of something. Something you have done in the car which makes it fuel efficient. Fuel efficiency is a result, it's not the innovation itself. Right? So obviously we have to ask that director what exactly about this car is new and innovative which makes it fuel efficient. And this is what she tells me when I ask the question. It has something to do with the engine, right? Because in a car, when you say it's fuel efficient, the fuel efficiency can come through multiple sources. The car will be more fuel efficient if the engine is more fuel efficient. be more fuel efficient if the shape of the body of the car is more aerodynamic. There is less drag when it runs, therefore less energy required to push it, less fuel consumed, right? Or the car might be fuel efficient because the tire that they have developed, there's a new tire that they have developed, which causes less friction when it is running on the road. Therefore, less friction, less pull, therefore less energy, fuel is required to push the car. Or maybe they have written a new software program, a new software process for controlling the engine, which controls the engine better and ensures that less fuel is used when the car is running. So can you see fuel efficiency is the result, it's an outcome which can come from multiple sources. Multiple reasons could be there why it's become. So this director, she tells me, this is because we have made some change or improvement in the engine. Okay. Now this also doesn't tell us what specifically is the innovation or the invention that they have created. Because the engine itself, there are hundreds of literally thousands or lakhs of engines, and there are thousands or lakhs or millions of fuel efficient engines also. Every second manufacturer says my engine is fuel efficient. So nothing in just saying fuel efficient engine, everybody has it, right? So then we need to understand. Is it something to do with the layout of the combustion chamber, how many cylinders it has? Does it have something to do with the piston or with the crankshaft or the spark plug? Which part have they improved such that the engine has become fuel efficient? So then she tells me it has something to do with the piston of that engine, right? Now, piston itself, would you say pistons are already known? Right? There are millions of engines, they all have pistons. Piston technology itself is also known. So they haven't even invented a piston here. Right? So finally it turns out that what they have done, what is their invention or their innovation, is an improved design of the sealing system of the piston in the engine of the car, which is giving fuel efficiency. Because in the piston, the better sealing design ensures that there is less leakage of fuel when the engine is running. So when there is less leakage of fuel when the engine is running, obviously that means the engine will be more fuel efficient. It is using less fuel because less leakage, less wastage happening, right? Therefore, because the engine is more fuel efficient, the car becomes more fuel efficient, right? So can you see where the innovation is? And by the way, can you see this is a technical innovation, right? There is an improvement in the technology of the piston sealing system. Can it be patented? Can it be patented? Yes, because it's not a merely good-looking design. It's a improved part, improved technology, which has a use. It saves fuel, makes the engine and car more fuel efficient. Therefore, it can definitely be patented. But did you see one thing? We started when the director came to me and asked, this is just an example. Okay, there was a great big product called a fuel efficient car we want to patent. Sounds so impressive, right? We want to patent a fuel efficient car. But by going through the process of inquiry, we have started from there, inquiring engine, piston, and then sealing system of the engine or of the piston is the engine. Can you see what a come down it is for that company and for the innovators of that sealing system of the piston? Such a big, impressive sounding invention they wanted to patent. Now they are left with improved sealing system of the piston. Right? What a come down it is for them. Right? Or think, think, is it really a come down or is something else happening over here? Right? Is it a come down or is there something else happening over here? Just think about this. Firstly, can you see when they came and spoke to me initially, they didn't have an idea specifically where exactly is their invention. Because television cars are very common. That is not, and they didn't know, they didn't tell where they. Now, exact clarity and focus on what exactly is the innovation in their whole car. It's not in the tire, it's not in the transmission system, it's not in the gear, it's not in the body panel, it's not the aerodynamic design, it's not the software, it's in the engine, within the engine, the piston, and within the piston, the sealing system of the piston is improved, better designed to prevent leakage, and that's where. So what is their invention? Not a fuel efficient car. Their invention is an improved sealing system design of the piston. That's it. No other purpose. Right? Can you see one thing here? There is now clarity and focus on what exactly is their technical innovation. What technology improvement they have made. right? There's clarity and focus. And by the way, that's a great thing to have when you're looking to protect your technology. Knowing what exactly is your invention, where you have made a difference, where you have improved the technology. Very clear and focused. Second thing, think about where all is a piston used. A piston is used only in car engines, or pistons are used in the millions and maybe billions in car engine, bike engine, truck engine, bus engine, ship engine. So many different engines running in factories, not just in India, but across the world. This is the last one example, and we are done. Okay? All across the world, billions of engines with probably billions of pistons being used. Imagine if this sealing system is used in a fraction of those billions, what value this invention, improved sealing system of the piston, can have as a patent. Per unit value of this invention will be low because it's a small component, a piston, and it's not they haven't even invented the whole piston. Piston was already known. What they have done is improve the sealing design of the piston. It's a small invention. Per unit value is low. Say take it is just $10 per unit value of the improved design. But imagine if across the world a million pistons will incorporate this technology and pay money for it. And why just a million? Actually, it will probably be in the tens or hundreds of millions. Okay, so take $10 per unit value, multiply it say with a 100 million actual pistons, right? Do the calculation. Can you see the value of this so-called simple small technology as a patent? If you get a patent, right, nobody can make this sealing design in their piston without a permission. And for giving permission, we charge $10. And there are 100 million people who want to pay $10. 100 million into $10. Look at the value. Are you getting a sense of this is after all not such a small invention? Definitely it's not a small thing. It's a simple small invention you can say technically, but as a patent, can you see what a great big thing this is? Right? That's what you have to look at when you are innovating. It may be a small thing, but look at where all can it be used in India and across the world. How many people will want to use this? What is the market for this? And are they willing to use it by paying money or they'll expect it for free? Free means it doesn't happen. Okay. But if you see this can have value out there in the market, a lot of people will be using it and maybe per unit value is low, but a lot of people will be paying money for it. Then it makes sense to go and find a patent on that technology. Then it makes sense to protect that intellectual asset on this idea for an improved piston design, get a patent on that, and charge license fees. Do you get this? Do you understand what is the meaning of IP protection and patent on a technical innovation? Get this? Right? Okay, great. With that, we complete this session. I had a few other examples, etc., but we don't have time for that. So we complete this. Anytime you have any questions or need any information, you can either call me or send me an email, or you can contact Angel ma'am. She'll connect you to me. Or if you go forward a few slides, my phone number and email ID is visible on the last slide. For the record. For the record. Two, three times. Two, three times. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Okay. So you can always contact me on this number or on this email ID or through Angel. Okay. Thank you very much for your participation. Really nice being here, and thank you